I decided to ask people who or what they think about Zohran Mamdani on my social medias. There's one slide that I probably, you know what, I'll show it. We'll see how everything kind of plays out. But I was curious on people's opinions on Zohran Mamdani. I do think it's indicative of the current climate, at the very least, in people's opinions on the climate, not the substantive policy changes or the substantive changes of the Democratic Party, but just how people are thinking about politics. I do think is interesting in regards to this figure in particular, Zohran Mamdani. So here are some things that people said. This is on my TikTok. Feel free to go check it out. Purple Political Breakdown. One person said, "Yay!" So she was obviously extremely happy about the fact that Mom Dummy got picked. So shout out. Mom Dummy is charismatic, a handsome individual too. So I guarantee that definitely helps his case. You know, it's kind of similar to like Hassan Piker in the sense that there will always be an appeal to him to like certain people because of his look and his personality. But Hassan kind of sucks. So that's the difference. Mamdani, as of right now, other than his comments he made back like a couple years ago, he doesn't suck. Doesn't seem like he sucks anywhere. Another person said the worst thing that's happened in America since Kamala Harris. So obviously MAGA. Obviously MAGA. And saying this is the worst thing to happen since Kamala Harris, I mean, there are so many routes I could take this. One thing that I've definitely noticed, there is a similarity between some of the more bot comments and certain profiles. We all know that there are different countries across the world that have an incentive to cause political turmoil in America. They want the downfall of America. So always think that when you're about to reply to someone who says something that's some bot shit, always remember that this could just be a Russian hacker, a Russian troll, or a Chinese troll, or a different country altogether. So most of the comments I don't take too seriously. This comment I don't take too seriously, but it also could be just a MAGA bot. It always weirds me out that someone who's pro MAGA has like an animated profile picture. I thought all the anime fans are on the left, Democrats. I don't know how you can be anime fan at MAGA. I'm be honest. I don't know if that makes any sense to me, but you know. But yeah, worst thing that's happened in America. So a lot of bad negative connotations because he's a different type of political figure. Nothing of substance there by any means. Let's go to the next slide. These are some of the Snapchat ones. Oh yeah, this is the controversial one that I didn't know if I wanted to show. So Jamie, he's pretty cool. Has I think an LGBTQ flag. Makes sense. Person on the left. This was a Snapchat. Did I say that? I already said that. A lot of happiness from the left, especially especially the very notable social left. Stefan said everyone that is against Orange Fump and stand up against him is a better person. Cooking. Just realizing that Donald Trump is a terrible politician, terrible person, terrible president, and anybody that's just not him is better. Technically, I wouldn't even say that's true. One of the reasons why is because Donald Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He just has a cultist following. So if someone who actually knew what they were doing had a cultist following like Trump, they'd probably be a little bit more dangerous, to be honest. This is the guy that says, my brother has his AR-15 ready and is heading to New York City. So now is the controversial comment that someone said about Mamdani, saying that he's going to do something to Mamdani. So anytime someone goes out of their way and starts crying about the left, saying these negative or bad things, which I completely condemn, let's be very clear. The right does it too. And this is just an example. Crazy thing to say about the mayor that he's going to do that. Evil thing. This guy is a piece of garbage, but, you know, we move. He's an American, says Carol. And then this person says, time for a chance. Let him give him a chance like everyone. So this guy was just wanting to see what he can do. That was the last comment. And I do think that is notable for Americans who are seeing Mamdani, a lot of them are hesitant in terms of his economic policies being implemented. The primary reason why so many people got elected in the special elections is because of the economy. Let's be very clear about that. They think that prices are doing bad and they think their economy is terrible because of Donald Trump. Mamdani has very ambitious economic policies. A lot of people are unsure of whether or not they're going to work. There's also a lot of unsurety because of the idea that these can increase the amount of taxes, and people don't like taxes. So we'll see. But keeping an open mind of the potential of this being very fruitful is important. Mamdani is a individual that keeping an open mind as of right now is extremely important. 100%. Um, some other people said Shanahan said from his policies, attitude towards all voters, lack of stocks, etc. He's an excellent person. However, I'm waiting for the actions now. Another person keeping their mind open, who just want to see if this works out. And attitude towards voters genuinely seems happy, willing to talk to people. Seems like he's even sympathetic to people who voted for Trump. I do think that's a huge, huge point for politicians that you cannot ostracize Trump voters. Lack of stocks, etc. I mean, the lack of stock stuff doesn't really move me too much, but I do think the idea of transparency is always important, and seems like a good guy. I see right through that fake AS smile. So this guy just thinks that Mamdani is really just evil underneath all the smiling. I guess, No profile picture, probably a Russian hacker. Rich said, thank you, God. Daryl said, a wolf in sheep's clothing, telling people who are easily lied to what they want to hear. I mean, a lot of his policies, I don't think are things that people even thought of, right? And he does say things that people don't want to hear, especially back in the day. But grocery owned stores, I don't think anybody had that on mind. Free buses, I don't think anybody had that in mind. A certain level of rent stabilization or rent control, I do think that was a prime issue that people really liked. What other things that he said? Oh, free childcare is definitely something people like. So that's definitely one of those I want to hear. So calling him a wolf in sheep's clothing means that he has an ulterior motive. You're kind of assuming what that ulterior motive is. I don't. I have no idea. I don't know what you could possibly be contemplating there. But yes, the, everybody who says stuff like this, it's very obvious they think he's saying good stuff, but they can't prove on why he's a bad guy. So they're just waiting and seeing. Another said, well done, Mom Dummy is an excellent choice for the New Yorkers. Straight up facts. Other one says trash, just like before, saying he's trash, just like Cuomo, apparently. Why? Probably just because he's affiliated with the Democrats. ASA says that's a gay sellout. Not surprising how he won. What? Okay. Based. Duper's delight smile. The enemies of America are losing. Enemies of America, I'm guessing he's referring to MAGA. I love it. He stands up to the orange man and doesn't stand down. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's. It is kind of crazy that obviously Donald Trump influenced both Democratic candidates before Mamdani. It was like an historically terrible candidate pool. Eric Adams was corrupt. He was paid off by foreign people, and he got pardoned by Donald Trump, and he led Donald Trump to bring in like the certain was it ICE, just immigrant officials in general to come and deal with like immigrants or whatever. So Eric Adams was a corrupt piece of garbage. Andrew Cuomo had all the controversy behind him regarding the assault, I believe. Trump tried to influence him as an independent. But one thing I do think you probably should give Cuomo credit for is that he never truly accepted Donald Trump's help. I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. But yeah, Whereas Mamdani, he hates Mamdani. He hates him bad, threatening to not give New York funding. If New York wasn't bad enough, so cowboy hat, you can kind of assume what type of person this guy is. Zohran Mamdani is tough, fire emoji, Sharia law and communism. So this is like a racist comment. He there's no evidence he advocates for Sharia law, and all his policies are not communist. Everyone who is against Orange Cheeto is a good man in my books. Facts, Nate. Facts. A couple more comments people said. Man, his class. Who? This guy doesn't even know who Mom Dummy is. He's awesome, a good liar, communist piece of shit. Based. And a couple more comments from my TikTok. Someone said the GOAT with the I don't even know what coach this guy is from or what school this guy is from. He'll be the champion of the people. If he succeeds, people finally learn socialism isn't nearly as scary or violent as capitalism. Yeah, I completely disagree with that. There is no evidence socialism will ever work in any government, period. All the ones that people assume is socialism is not socialism. They're all capitalism with certain socialist elements. I think that's the best way you can argue. So socialism is not better than capitalism. That's just a straight out lie. However, the idea, sure. And two, there are elements of socialism that could work under a capitalist framework. That's why when we started introducing things like Social Security, um, parental leave, stuff like that, people initially were calling those socialist policies, regardless of what you think about it. They were initially calling it socialist policies. If we get down to the nitty gritty and the definition of like what is socialism, you probably should be able to say no, because the core of like the socialism is like the means of what is it? The means of production is ran by the workers, or at the very least, the government and the ownership of the companies ran by the workers, something like that. I don't remember the exact terminology, but the idea is just everything kind of goes through workers itself, and we can't. There's no realistic scenario of this ever working. So I get like young people. A lot of these people are like college students, young people who like the idea of socialism because it sounds good, but socialism is not better than capitalism. But capitalism has a lot of flaws, no doubt, that should be addressed. And then Michelin said he stands up to Israel, unlike these other corrupt politicians. So this guy just really just doesn't like Israel. I'm not in that camp where I just hate everything Israel, but I do think Israel deserves a lot of criticism, and they should vote out Netanyahu, and they should vote out all the far right people of the government. That is all. So that was just me asking people, what are your thoughts about Mamdani? I probably will do a video like this every single week where I'm asking people their thoughts about this current kind of big time issue on all my socials. I'll see like where people are commenting. This was mostly TikTok and Snapchat. I don't even know what the next one will be, depending on what's going on currently. And we'll see how everything. Maybe I'll ask like, what do you think about SNAP benefits? Do people deserve SNAP benefits? All that stuff. That's probably my next question. So that's all I got for today. Hope you guys enjoy it. Y'all have a good one. Take care. Peace.